Hi. Before I go into why I think Victoria Derbyshire is a Corbynite anti-Semitic shill, let's first go into the recent interview that she did with Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin. Now, Carl Benjamin is a guy who for a very long time I have thought is exactly the type of person that we need in Parliament. But his candidacy has been beset by two issues. One, that he is a paedophile enabler, and the other, his rape tweet. And on one of those issues, I have changed my mind about Sargon of Akkad. Without a question of doubt at a bare minimum, Carl Benjamin is a paedophile enabler. When you sympathetically platform two paedophiles to promote their perversion and supply supportive arguments for them, throwing in the disclaimer, but I believe that the age of consent should be 16, simply doesn't wash. And when you up that age of consent to 18, when this all comes out in the spotlight, yeah. Now, why did Victoria Derbyshire choose to hone in on Carl Benjamin's spat with a powerful woman, the Member of Parliament, JESS Phillips, rather than him platforming men who sexually target defenceless children? Could it have anything to do with the fact that when a child victim and then social workers in Islington came to the Islington North MP, Jeremy Corbyn, about systematic sexual abuse of children in Islington care homes, Jeremy Corbyn did absolutely nothing? Could that be why Victoria Derbyshire turned her back on defending defenceless children and defended a powerful woman instead? And let's remember, a powerful woman who belittled the mass sexual assault on women in Cologne by Muslim migrants. Now, for me, without doubt, Carl Benjamin's tweet about the Labour MP Jessie Phillips that he wouldn't even rape her was an outrage. But when you understand the context of that it was in response to an outrage committed by Jess Phillips in a parliamentary committee, laughing about the idea of debating men's issues and blocking a debate on debating those issues, such as the high male suicide rate, then it falls into some kind of perspective. While it was definitely a bad joke that he should not have said under any circumstances, I would say that the joke is recently made that such as the flack is got for saying he would not rape Jess Phillips, that he might have to change his mind, I find really funny. And no one tells that joke like Victoria Derbyshire.
There's been an awful lot of talk about whether I would or would not even rape Jess Phillips. I've been in a lot of trouble for my hardline stance of not even raping her. I suppose with enough pressure, I might cave. But let's be honest, nobody's got that much beer.
That's the way she tells him. Such is her low regard for the intelligence of the British public. She actually had the nerve to accuse Carl Benjamin of lying about what Jess Phillips had said, and then went on to say what she'd said, which showed that Victoria Derbyshire was the liar.
Well, you're referring to the backbench business committee
where she
meeting
laughed at the idea of tabling a discussion about men's issues. That's not funny.
That's inaccurate.
No,
that's inaccurate.
No, it's not.
I've watched that video a number of times.
Well, you've lied about a lot of things today, so I don't take your word for it. I've made lots of videos.
What happened?
How about I tell your audience what happened?
Let me tell our audience what happened. Backbench Business Committee meeting in the House of Commons, where Conservative MP Philip Davies says women have International Women's Day, and in the Commons they have women and equality questions every month. He says, which they don't have for men. And he goes on to say, the opportunity for men to raise issues that are important to them are very limited. At which point you can hear Jess Phillips laughing.
Yes.
Philip Davies goes on, just to give you a flavour of the type of things men care about on International Men's Day. Then he pauses and he says, I'm not entirely sure why it's so humorous. And then he lists various male issues, including men's life expectancy and male suicide.
Yes.
And he addresses Jess Phillips laughing before listing those issues. Later she says, you'll have to excuse me for laughing, that the idea that men don't have the opportunity to ask questions in this place is frankly a laughable thing. As the only woman on this committee, it seems like every day is International Men's Day.
Yeah, but that's her feminist bias. She blocked it. That's why it wasn't talked about. So her saying, well, he's a man, he can talk about it in any way he wants. Not if she's blocking it. And her demand on him, she wants 50% representation in Parliament. That's an unreasonable demand. Philip Davies doesn't get to choose that. So when do we have the debate on male suicide? It's the #1 killer of men under 45. My uncle committed suicide. When do we get to have that debate?
Now, I thought Carl Benjamin's handling of the interview with Victoria Derbyshire was brave and brilliant, and you can understand why he is so popular. Victoria Derbyshire was posturing to further the spread of the Great Correctnik terror, and her interview with Jess Phillips, in which she was egging her on to agree with her that someone who told a joke like Carl Benjamin did should not be able to stand as an election candidate, really shows her totalitarian mindset in spades. As far as I'm concerned, Carl Benjamin is exactly right about feminism. Feminism is a cancer. It's as disturbing to be making an ideology about your gender as it is to be making an ideology out of your race. Gender socialism and National Socialism dovetail perfectly together. And it's no surprise that Victoria Derbyshire is also a Corbynite anti-Semite. I've linked below to a couple of interviews she did on the subject of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, and I'm gonna play you a couple of clips from those interviews just to highlight the contrast in her approach to both those subjects. And before you look at these couple of clips, bear in mind that Jews are leaving Britain and Muslims are coming to Britain in their droves.
What's happened here in Britain to make us not feel safe is there's been a total climate change. It's become acceptable to be anti-Semitic.
Has it?
If you complain about anti-Semitism, the most anti-Semitic thing is said back to you. You're making it up. It's all a smear. You haven't even got the right
What
to
kind
complain.
of people say that to you, that you're making it up?
You're
Key person in the world for sharing all these platforms and being in all these places that are questionable. How much unluck can somebody have? Let's look at what he does.
Again, we have a statement from Labour. Jeremy Corbyn is a militant opponent of anti-Semitism. He's determined to eradicate all forms of it from the Labour Party and from wider society. The party and Mr Corbyn are fully committed to the support, defence and celebration of the Jewish community. Ruqayyah, we saw a little bit of the kind of experiences that you have to undergo pretty regularly, actually, in your life. Tell our audience a little bit more about what that is like.
And connect Islam with terrorism. You've just done it by calling it Islamist terrorist. Why give them that credence? Why give them that accolade? Islam is
How would you describe them then?
Terrorist, criminals, thugs, mugs, name them all sorts, just don't give them the honor of Islam.
Victoria, Derbyshire is like a broadcaster out of an Orwellian nightmare. We live in what the Chinese wish upon their enemies interesting times. And when someone like Victoria, Derbyshire is one of the BBC's premier presenters, I really do not think democracy can survive these interesting times that we are going through.
If you complain about anti-Semitism, the most anti-Semitic thing is said back to you. You're making it up. It's all a smear. You haven't even got the right
What
to
kind
complain.
of people say that to you, that you're making it up?